There you go.
Okay. All right. Now you can see me. Okay. Okay. So again, we're just sort of testing this out. This is our first sort of live streaming, and I'm so happy to have Jacob with me. Again, we had our first opportunity to talk about a year ago, and it's been phenomenal. So if you're having any difficulty on the Facebook page, just send me an instant message. Let me know, or just put your comments in, and I should be able to see that. But I'm excited for you to meet this young man and tell you a little bit about the backstory here. So we're going to give folks just a few more minutes to come on, and we're going to make it happen. Now, those of you who are connected to my Big Family Search page on Facebook, you should have no problem seeing me. And I'm also posting this to my profile page. But just so that you know, going forward, we're going to be posting this to our live streams to the group only, because we want you to be a part of the Big Family Search fam. So let me know now if you're having any difficulty whatsoever. In about a minute and a half, we're going to start our conversation. I'm going to try to make sure that there is a link on the live page. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Okay, I see that I'm on the Big Family Search page for the group, but we are just trying to get the other folks added on. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and just get started. How about that? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, my name is Pamela Bailey, and I'm the creator of the Big Family Search Project. And that's where I'm finding my family that was separated by slavery in the antebellum South. So, I want to tell you a little bit about the project before I bring this young man in to the conversation. And again, I'm excited to talk with Jacob. So, I am originally from South Carolina, now living in Dallas. And I have been doing my own family's genealogy research, gosh, for about maybe 10 years or so now. And about 2.5 years ago or so, I took a DNA test. And I was shocked and amazed, because after I took that test, I realized that I was related to people all over the country. And those folks were not known to me. Like, I was able to, see some of their names and some of their beautiful faces, but I had no idea who they were or how they were connected. And so that was the catalyst for me to start what is known as the Big Family Search. So probably now, for about maybe the last 2 years or so, I have created a website which is called the Big Family Search, and this project. And I have started reaching out to people who share DNA connections to me. And so what I've been able to do is make contacts with some folks, again, who have no idea that they have family history even in South Carolina. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit about forced migration and how we've ended up here. So understand that my family has been here for hundreds of years. I've been able to trace my family back at least until the mid to late 1700s. And consequently, my family has grown enormously large. We are a multiracial family, and we are in every part of the US and also living abroad. So when I decided I wanted to do this search, again, once I started reaching out to people, they started reaching out back to me. But I've had a few instances where these sort of strange connections have been made, and it's been pretty cool and pretty ironic. One instance, I was on the train in Dallas, commuting downtown Dallas, and what happened truly amazed me because I had a man on the train I'd seen several times, and he just reminded me of someone. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but he reminded me of someone. And I thought, if I ever get a chance to talk to him, I'm going to ask him who he is and to see if there's any possibility that we're connected. Now, what's crazy about that is I don't have any family in Dallas except my husband and my children that I brought with me. But I just couldn't shake this feeling that I kind of knew this guy from somewhere. So, as fate would have it, one day I jump on the train, and the next stop, he gets on, and the train is crowded. And I, walk up to him and I say, listen, while we're standing next to each other, I'm Pamela. I explained to him about my big family search. And I say to him, the first question was, are you a Dallasite? And the man says to me, no, I'm from South Carolina. And I thought, okay, so like this is crazy. I don't know if this is a possibility that I'm related to this man or not, but I continued to ask the questions and gave him my card so he would know that I think that I was a crazy person. And the next thing I said to him is I explained who I was, that I'd taken a DNA test, reminded me of my family. The more I spoke to him, the way, not just how he looked, but how the body moved, how he moved his head, he reminded me of my brother and my cousins. And I said to him, wow, you look so much like my family. So he told me that he was from Andrews, South Carolina. And I said, I don't know that I have any family in Andrews, but I know that my ancestral family had been enslaved in Andrews. And again, no real connection to this man. So I asked him if I can put his unusual name into my app that has my DNA and all my connections in it. And he said, sure. He says, I haven't taken the DNA test. And I said, but that's okay because there's a possibility what will happen is anybody that's related to me who has this unusual last name, if, they'll pop up, they can be anywhere in the world. So sure enough, the gentleman allowed for me to put his name in. And within a matter of seconds, several people popped up on my site saying that they were relatives. So I said, well, I've got these two people who actually have the same last name. And I said, they could be anywhere in the world. He said, let me see your phone. So when I handed the man my telephone, he looked at the young man and the young woman that had popped up on my phone. And he says, I don't know who that young man is, but the young woman is my daughter. So I've had several encounters with people who I thought like looked so much like my family, who reminded me so much of my family that I thought, gosh, I have to ask. And so far, it has not failed me. So I got a text from my brother he's in North Carolina, actually, born and raised in South Carolina. And he said to me, there is a guy on YouTube who it looks identical to your son. Like he looks so much like your son. And so what's really wild about this is that my daughter clearly looks like my husband. My son looks a lot like me and the men in my family. But what's interesting is I have he's a cousin. I call him my nephew. His name is Marcus. Marcus and my son probably look the most alike of the men in my family. They have very similar personalities in some ways. Both of them are musicians. And, this next gentleman that I'm going to introduce to you has an uncanny likeness to both of them. So I'm going to actually play for you, if I can. I'm going to try to share my screen, and I'm going to play for you a little bit of a YouTube clip that I found. And this is my first introduction to the young man that I want you to meet today. You all bear with me. Again, I am so excited to be here and so excited to be broadcasting this. Um, it's just pretty amazing. And so you're going to get an opportunity to meet a lot of my family in the coming months, especially as we go into the holidays. Because again, you need to know about the Big Family Search. And I tell you, one of the biggest reasons is because our families were separated for hundreds of years by slavery. And it has only been, oh gosh, 1875 was the last time, sorry, 72 was the last time that our government did anything to try to bring our families back together. But 7 years after the end of the Civil War, they stopped funding the Freedmen's Bureau, who was giving some assistance in this area. And so it's sort of fallen upon us to make that happen. So let's see if we can get this video clip up for you. Okay, let's see. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to call in my tech assistant here to see if I can get him to help me with this. And again, if you all have any questions for Jacob, or if you want to, if you have any questions for me, by all means, just let me know. Okay, thank you all so much for hanging in there with me. Had a little bit of a technical difficulty when I was trying to show that George Levitt interview to you. But at this time, without further ado, I'm going to bring Jacob on. Jacob, are you still here with me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so excited. Again, I do apologize for the delay. But I want to, again, introduce folks to you. I've had the pleasure of knowing you, sort of. We've been talking probably for about the last year now. I had planned to actually travel down to Savannah to meet you because once I heard your music, I actually wanted to be able to perform with you in some way, shape, or form. As you know, I family search uniting my family that was separated by slavery. So I reached out to you about a year ago. What did you think when you first got that telephone call from me?
First, I was like, um, well, we all get strange calls all the time. But I was like, this is not an automated thing. This seems to be real. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. And again, to those of you who are just joining us, this is Pamela with the Big Family Search. I'm talking to Jacob Evans, and Jacob is an artist. He's a musician who plays several instruments, incredibly talented, living and working in Savannah, Georgia, and just released some new music here lately. But the reason that I reached out to him initially was because I'd gotten that message from my brothers saying that you reminded me so much of my son. Now, what was interesting about that, Jacob, was not that you didn't just look like him, but again, the way, I mean, that you smile. When I saw in that video with George, there was a point where you looked at him, you turned and you looked back at him, and I was like, oh my goodness, like there's no way that this kid is not related to me and my family. So, what I actually ended up doing was I went back to a history book. It is a history of Marion County, South Carolina. That is the place where I come from. And in that history book, I wanted to see because it names all of the families that had originally settled in that area. Most of those folks had been slaveholders coming from England and Ireland, some from Germany and a few from France. But right next to the Gregg plantation in Marion County was the Evans plantation. And so that made me think that there could absolutely be a possibility that we might be family. The other thing that is so amazing is that I have found that in certain branches of my family, Jacob, that people have been blessed through DNA with musical ability, which means that they can sing, play multiple instruments, and most of them have done so without any actual training. Tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming an artist. When did you start playing? What instruments you started playing first? And when did you realize that you had a real talent for this?
Well, so you grow up, singing songs, not really like singing, but you be like, don't stop. I did that, singing at church and stuff, but not like featuring, soloing. I got to middle school, and that's when I got into like band as a class, and started on trumpet. Then I moved to tuba, but I never was like disciplined enough to like read music. So I just like hear it and be like, but da 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 da. And then I faked that all the way up to everything. I really did that even through college. Um, yeah, and then I left band. But okay, so what made me start playing guitar though, where that started was um, I got grounded over the summer before my senior year, and because I ran away from home for 3 days. And that sounds crazy, but what I mean is like my mom, she loves me so much. She calls me all the time when I'm out, like every hour an hour.
Sounds
And
like me.
well, this one
Helicopter
time,
parent.
oh my gosh, mother's covers like Waffle House hash browns. You feel me? But this one time she didn't call, and so I was like, I guess she doesn't want me home.
Wow.
So So I didn't come home that night, no the next night, no the next night. And then my sister called and she was like, "Hey yo, I'm bored." And I was like, "All right," I came back. Got the worst whipping of my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was like painful and emotional. When your mama whip you, she crying, she's like, "Oh," it just break our heart. She's like, "Why you do this?" But anyway, so that happened. They took everything out of my room, but a guitar, some books, and a bed. And I felt so bored. I felt like I was gonna die. So and I read two books, and I don't even reading was so hard for me. But I read two 800-page books in like 2 weeks, and that was like the only time I've read a book and finished it since the Berenstain Bears. And after that, I started learning like my favorite songs, and because I used to like ask people to like learn songs so I could sing them, and
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, well, I could just do it, and I started doing that, and I don't know, I just kept doing it, and then I was like, I really, really like this. Didn't even come to that realization, but I was just like, I'm just gonna do this, and then I ended up learning like a lot of songs, and then when I got to like college at Savannah State, I went around like playing on River Street for tips and stuff.
Yeah.
And because I knew so many songs, I was doing that, but then I was doing it illegally because you're not supposed to have amplification down on the street. But
Right.
and so I did that, and I was playing out loud and stuff. And then this lady at Tubby's was like, "Hey, how about you do that up here, and we'll pay you?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Hmm."
Wow.
So that was like my like first gig,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there I was like playing, and then people would see me play and be like, "Hey, you should play here." And then other artists, musicians would be like, "Hey, I can't do this gig. Could you cover for me?" And then I got into the music scene.
Yeah. That's so super. So I recently saw you on a television spot on the news in Atlanta. Can you tell me I mean, I'm sorry, in Savannah. Tell me a little bit about that television appearance with your band.
Ah, okay. Oh, that was cool. That was cool. Hmm. I can't remember what we were promoting. I think we were promoting the album release.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went up there, and man, that was so cool. Like the day prior, like we only had like one day to practice, like as a band. And when I mean like one day, I mean we went to Forsyth Park at like 9 or 10, like at night, and then we set up like drum set, bass, keys, and we practiced like the night before. We had to get up in the morning to do the broadcast,
Wow. Wow.
and
That's the blessing of having a gift, though. And I think that is one of those things I think sometimes we often take for granted. That sometimes what may take years and years and years of study for someone else can come so easily when you have been, given this gift. Now, is there anybody else in your family that is musically inclined?
I want to say this right because I don't want to offend anybody.
Mhm.
I don't want to throw no shade. Um, so first off, I want to say no, but when you're going to school, sometimes you take like band classes, and then like you pick up an instrument. But I haven't heard about anyone sticking with anything or having anything stuck with them as far as like a musical talent.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I will say this, that guitar that was left in my room was my sister's, but she went off to
Oh.
college, and she never let me play it. But when she left to college and I was grounded, I took it, and oh, I can feel myself about to throw shade. I'm not gonna be a petty brother. But I
Don't do
but
that.
I think I'm the black sheep as far as musical talent. I'll say that.
Okay. So, where was home for you? What I know that you were raised in Georgia. Were you born in Georgia as well?
I
And
was
what part of Georgia?
Blackshear, Georgia is where I was raised, and Blackshear didn't have a hospital at the time, so I was born in Waycross, Georgia, 9 miles away.
Okay, okay. And so you found yourself in Savannah because of school. Is that why you're there?
Savannah State
Okay,
University.
okay. And so you just have you decided to make that your home base?
Yes, actually, and I'm scared that part of me is like comfort about it, and then other part is I really like Savannah. I really do.
Savannah is gorgeous. I haven't been there in some years now, but it is an amazing place. It reminds me a lot, of course, of Charleston, South Carolina. Has a lot of our history there, and I do know, which I thought was really interesting. When I went back after talking with you the first time, I've had my DNA uploaded in a couple of sites, but the one that I probably use the most is Ancestry, and that's because Ancestry has a really great dashboard that allows me to get a lot of information about the people who are connected to me. And I am, of course, connected to people, both in Savannah, well, Georgia, and also not Savannah necessarily, but also in Georgia and of course in South Carolina. And I never really even thought about coming from South Carolina, that Evans connection. So I am really curious to find out, about the possibility of us being family. Now, do you know if you have any family in South Carolina or North Carolina even?
I do not know, and like Evans seems like a small thing to me. So it would
Mhm.
change the game if something popped up. I would be geeked. That would be great.
That would be fantastic. So where, other than Georgia, like, are there other states though that you do have Evans family?
Um, Actually, don't think so. A lot of people took like different names, like Jacobs, and I'm like the cross section of everything because Jacob Evans, like
Tell
that's
me that
Jacob.
story. Tell everybody that story because I thought it was very cool when I heard that for the first time. How you got your
Um,
name?
so let's see. My Frances Jacobs is my grandmother on my mom's side, and then Evans comes from my dad. And my mom named me, and my dad named my sister. And so to keep their family name, my first name is Jacob, and
Yeah.
daddy's last name. Interesting about my middle name. I don't know. This is just a random tidbit. My mom was nursing one of our family members that was dying of cancer, and he was like, "If you name your son after me, I'll watch over him." I was like, so that's how I got Edward, Jacob Edward Evans.
Oh, well, that's so cool. That is very cool. But also, I have to tell you that I have Jacob's family in South Carolina as well. So, growing up, well, coming along in school, did you ever learn anything about forced migration of Black folks in this country?
Um, just the small bit they tell you about, the slave trade, and yeah,
Okay.
but they never like taught too much about it unless you go to like, those studies like Africana studies and things like that in college. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I was surprised too because, I have a degree and I have several degrees, and I've studied history, even on a college level, and I had not heard about this history. And there have been, opportunities for me to talk with folks with history degrees, not necessarily African American studies, but just general history degrees, and they don't know about this history either. And so the reason again I think that there's possibly a chance that we could be family, other than the fact that you again, even your sense of humor is like my family's. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I literally could just bring you into my family and nobody would ever know the difference, that you were not my child, and I would have punished you just like your mama did when you ran away for 3 days. So
Something just came up.
we definitely could be family. But so what I found is that a lot of people were taken out of South Carolina to Georgia. So as the country started growing south and west, people who owned farms and plantations in the Carolinas, because South Carolina was one of the colonies, of course, and the government at that time was giving away free land. People would go to these places and settle it. So when people would leave South Carolina and just literally cross the border, I was just telling my daughter that when I was in college, my friends and I used to hang out at a place in Augusta I was at school in Orangeburg, so we would just drive that hour and a half, or whatever, to go hang out during the weeknights, and then be ready for 8 o'clock class the next morning. But South Carolina, of course, is very close proximity to Georgia. And when families crossed that border, they took our families with them. And it could be for any reason. If a young woman from South Carolina married a young man from Georgia, enslaved people might have been given to them as a wedding present or a part of an inheritance, an endowment, for many, many different reasons. So, and again, we have family that we are connected to, and you see somebody and you think, oh man, that looks just like, this person or that person. And you have no idea that you are family. So, since we've spoken initially and we've talked about this idea, have you given any more thought to the possibility of having family in other places?
It's been just a looming thought, as it's been always, because just like you were saying, like you see people, they look exactly like you. That's happened so many times. People come up to you and be like, "Hey, yo, that's your twin right there."
Yes. And it literally could be your family. It could be your family. Like, it's so crazy. I did an interview on my podcast, and folks, I've got a podcast that's also called The Big Family Search. You can find it on SoundCloud, or if you go to my website, which is bigfamilysearch.com, there are links to my podcast and to my videos as well. But there was an instance where, again, my brother reached out to me to tell me about a young man who looked exactly like him. And we're from South Carolina. This young man's family is from North Carolina. And he'd always thought that, his family had always, been enslaved in North Carolina. But when I saw this picture, when my brother sent me the picture initially, I thought, why are you sending me a picture of you? I tease him. We talk all the time. I'm like, I know what you look like. And he said, Pamela, that's not me. That is not me. And so when I finally got an opportunity to talk to the young man in North Carolina, which, by the way, my brother lives in North Carolina now, so they've been living in the same city for the last 20 years. Like, they could have run into each other any given time, or, a friend may have seen them and thought that it was the other person. And so when I finally got a chance to talk to him, I realized that his grandfather and so many other men in his family had the exact same names as the men in my family from South Carolina. And so apparently the families were separated in the 1800s, like the 1850s or 60s, and have never been reunited again. And so my father is related as a cousin to his mother. So it's crazy how real that is. So since we've spoken, have you had any desire to do any genealogy research, or I find some people either love it or not necessarily interested.
Well, actually, I'm not actually family orientated.
Mhm.
That's a shock. Um, yeah, like I don't even know. The family that comes to Thanksgiving and things like that. They'd be like, "Oh, I met you was so small." I'd be like, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's your auntie, Ruby May," things like that. And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Right. But here's why I think it's really so important for people in general, but particularly people who are your age, is because sometimes in a family, even though you're loved, you can kind of feel like the oddball out, or you just may feel like you're different, or you don't have a lot in common, with the family that you were born into. But almost always, you're going to find when you do your genealogy research that there is somebody in your family who was exactly like you, who thought like you, who had the very same interest. And now, even scientists are saying that people like yourself, who are incredibly talented, have inherited that talent, and about 50% of what you are able to use is actually your gift. I mean, technically, we say, people are gifted, but it generally is a gift of the DNA. And it's really special. And so, as I've been doing this research about my family, one part of my family, who are the Geralds, who are just lots of artists, either musicians or writers, singers. And almost every single person that I have met, whom I've never met before, either has one of those gifts or their children have those gifts. But when you think about even, I remember Tom Joyner. Do you know Tom Joyner is the fly? They call him the fly jock. He's retired now, the
Oh,
DJ.
it's the
Okay.
time.
Yes, yes. I heard him tell a story about how he was the only person in his family who had gray eyes. And so he would get teased incessantly by his family and friends, and they would call him the milkman's baby. And even though they were teasing him, I mean, as a kid, that's kind of painful. That's really hurtful. And so it wasn't until he did his had his DNA done and he was able to have the genealogy research done that he found that those gray eyes belonged to his great great grandfather, who was his family slaveholder. And so personality traits, as well as eye color, just certain things that we can or cannot do, uh, musicality, those things are in our DNA code. So it may be something that you might be interested in. And let's talk about a little bit later, but let's talk about your musical journey. So you just told us, how you sort of got your first gig, but what made you decide that, okay, so this is definitely the passion. And not only do I just want to do this, but I'm going to move forward to making this happen for myself.
Um, so I'd say during that summer, actually, I found music to be an outlet, and that really helped me because I didn't have many people that I could communicate things with and feel like received and just like get things out and have things, like unraveled and just stay there. So music as an outlet was very important to me. I just stumbled across and I was like, oh, this is great. And and then I started wanting to be an artist because I was in like English class one day and we were going over some poetry and we were spending all this time like deciphering what this artist meant. And I was like, we are trying so hard to understand this person. And I was like, I want people to try that hard to understand me. Like what? I was, to feel understood that, that's just mm. And then it's like the path of least resistance for me because it's
Mhm.
like comes easy and things and so much comes out of it. Like, finances, like relationships, um, emotional support,
Mhm.
and even
Mhm.
like helping like people. It's like it's the greatest thing. Like, I mean, God, but I mean, like he made it and he worked through that. He works through music a lot. Like sometimes music is like the only way I can craft. Like sometimes, like I can't even like
I totally get it. Like again, I have two kids, and music is their thing. And again, personalities are both of them very similar personality traits as yours. And it is a great thing to understand. And it almost makes me a little jealous to see somebody who is that connected to their gift. And I know because I've seen some of your posts that you are still very much a spiritual person. And there is a scripture that says that your gift will make room for you. So, all the things that you are describing, for instance, how it makes you feel, how it makes other people feel, that it's sort of your way of communicating in ways that you can't, other ways that you can't communicate. You can't speak some of the things that you feel, but they come through or manifest through your music. And that really is just your gift making room for you. And that's pretty phenomenal. We do have a few comments. Someone said that they remembered me posting about you because, again, when I first saw that picture and I reached out to you and you were so receptive, I had to just let people know like this thing is crazy and it's amazing in the best possible way. And then I have somebody on here who's also a family member who says that her dad, again, plays several musical instruments, just picked them up like yourself and just sort of started playing. So tell me, where do you want to go as far as your musical journey is concerned?
oh, okay. So that's actually weird for me. Like I know I want to like support myself and like the family that I have. Um, but it's weird when I think about my ambitions because I don't part of me, I know we're getting kind of personal now, and I know this is probably not that kind of thing, but
It's whatever you want it to be, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm actually scared of like having like big ambition. Like
Mhm.
part of me is like sees it as like greed or something. Um, yeah, sees success as like a bad thing, kind of like just wanting more and like and I'm trying to like work through it and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know I want to be successful, have nobody worry about me, and be able to help people in my family.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but me and ambition, we got a weird relationship.
I totally get it. And you know what? I think it's good that you're mindful and you're thoughtful about that. And so here's the thing that's working in your favor. There is the idea of people who chase money, right? And people who chase money are going to compromise as far as the music that they do make or whatever the artistry is. And there are people who are so consumed with getting that deal, that particular contract, that that's all they think about. And so music then becomes second, but that's not what you're doing. And I think it is important to sort of know that what you want to do most of all is be true to your music, but you can make money from that. Like, again, that's the whole idea of your gift making room for you. That means that whatever the gift is, it's going to, if you respect and take care of it, it's going to respect and take care of you. And so I think that's one of the things, again, you're just going to have to kind of work through because it has to be a business. There's so many talented people who should be out there. And I see you, and I don't know if this is how you see yourself, but I see you as an independent artist, which now is a time with the music business changing where independent artists can really sort of do their thing and establish themselves. That means that you can sort of do things your own way and you don't have to go the way of the old establishment. So, but definitely what you can't do, you get yourself a business manager to do. Because I find with most artists, regardless of the media, sometimes they have a difficult time negotiating for themselves and asking for what they're really worth. But again, it's one of those things that you will overcome, and whatever you're uncomfortable with, like I said, you will just it'll make room for you. Just get the right people on your team to make that happen, so you don't have to think about it.
Oh yes, oh yes. I'm gonna go ahead and praise them right there. That is, I would love that. Someone to be the bad guy for me to
Yeah.
talk about them. I would love for all I
Mhm.
have to do is just like represent my art and sing.
Yeah. So that will be the goal in 2021. We're going to have to find you some good representation, right?
Come on, somebody.
All right, now, because you need to be focused on making your amazing music. Somebody is asking me if I would bring my son on, and he did help me get this up and running. But he, like you, is also an artist, and he has been live streaming and doing some other things today. So I won't be able to share, but once this is over, I am going to definitely do a side split of the pictures of you guys. And again, I know that my family and friends who know my son, they are probably like, oh, this guy reminds me so much
Oh,
of
what
Braden.
shoot.
And again, it's not just because of how you look, but everything about you reminds me of him and will remind other people of him. But again, once this COVID is over, we're coming to see you, brother. We're coming
Come
down to
through.
Savannah. Yes. And we're going to get a chance to perform together. I can promise you that.
It's easy. It would be so easy. I bring random strangers up. Like, come bruh, just
I hear you. Before I let you go, I want to ask you a little bit about your songwriting process. I do write songs. I'm working on a documentary project right now that I hope to have some of my music released in, and I'll eventually be putting together an EP. And mine is a specific kind of music. But let me know a little bit about the music that you write, and then I'm going to let you tell me about the places, or if you have anything lined up in the Savannah area, so that family and friends can find you there.
okay. So my musical process normally starts off with music. Oh, yeah, it normally starts off with the music, and whatever like low hanging fruit emotionally I have, just drops off into it.
Hmm.
And I've I found that it's yeah. So with low hanging fruit, the stuff that I can talk about. I'm a really open person, like to a point. So like relationship problems and stuff, it's really easy for me to talk about that. So like most of the things I write about are like relationship stuff
Hmm.
or like advice or edification to like friends and like you know. So it's either like helping people or like my heart. But lately I've been having a block because what's on my heart right now that I like could write about, it's hard for me to express. So because of that, I haven't been able to write
Hmm.
about
Well, sometimes we have to be a distance from things to write about it. And we have to process. And I do think that probably some of the best writers or artists are giving a little piece of themselves based upon some experience that they've gone through. And I do the same thing. So for me, again, I write a lot of songs actually around this history and even about some of the experiences that we are going through. And I generally write best at a time when socially there's chaos and it really is pulling at my heartstrings. So I totally understand that. But then there are some things like, it's been some years now, but when I lost my mother and I actually started writing, as in like writing a book, I wanted to sort of get these stories down, but I couldn't because I was so close to the experience at that time that even though I had the emotions, I couldn't put them in words that would sort of just not having people bawling all the time, right? I wanted it to be a good story to kind of talk about who she was and our life together without being such a sad and hurt thing because I was in such a sad and a hurt place. So I totally get that. So do you consider yourself again to be an independent artist?
yes, definitely. I have not hooked up with any deals yet. And I do love the freedom of that. Being able to like turn down whatever and just, you know,
Yeah.
be who I know I am.
Right. And that doesn't mean that you can't be financially successful. And again, sometimes it may mean, and I'm speaking into your future, Jacob, you could be the independent $14 million artist as opposed to the $40 million artist who is kind of run by a machine who doesn't really have a lot of say so in what you produce and what you put out. And I mean, that's something, again, now while you are sort of perfecting that gift and getting ready for the next level, which we hope is going to be coming in 2021, now is the time for you to decide exactly which way you want that to go. So, in order to have not just your independence as an artist, but everything is tied to your life, right? In order to be able to have some balance in your life, if you want to maintain yourself as an independent artist, it may be a harder road, but it's definitely something that's doable.
Truth, truth.
So,
By
how?
and by.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, basically, I'm just affirming that I believe what you say.
Okay. Now, last question for you. And I'm going to try to, and again, I am not good at the technology stuff, but I'm going to try to give it my best shot. And if I can't do it, I am going to add a link to your music in all of these places where this podcast, this vlog is shown now. But I wanted to ask you, how do you feel? You know that I'm sending you a DNA test because I want to know. I absolutely want to know if you are my family. How do you feel about taking the DNA test?
Easy as Sunday morning, actually.
Okay, okay. And how do you feel about the possibility of us being family?
Uh, I'm actually leaning towards it so much that I would be disappointed if we weren't.
I would too. I really, really would too. But as I said to you earlier, no matter what the test says, we are family, dude. And we are going to be friends. And like I said, I'm going to travel down to Savannah as soon as I can because I want to meet you. And if there's anything that I can do to help facilitate your career or to help you in any way, I would love, love, love to do that.
As soon as I can figure out, and that's actually been another challenge because like I met people and our hearts have been like high five and stuff, and they said that, and then like, and they'd be sitting there like, so what's up? And actually be like, well, I actually don't know what I need. So good talking.
I know, right? I know. Well, and I know, and but again, and I don't want to feel like I keep philosophizing, but I am much, much older than you. Of course, I'm old enough to be your mama because my oldest is your age. But what I will say, and this has been interesting for me as I have started doing the Big Family Search and working on the documentary project, and all of these things, is that there are people who say to me that they're going to help me. And sometimes those people have disappeared. And what I have learned pretty early on in that process is don't even worry about it because those were not the people who were placed in your path to help you. And so, very organically, those people, as you keep going, with what you're doing, they're going to just show up and they're going to be all about what you do and supporting you and helping you. So, you just have to trust that process because it's going to happen.
Y'all just saw me get preached to live.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Let us pray.
Listen at you. Listen at you. That's hilarious. I do though. I see that you. I know that you're a spiritual person, and I see in your post that you do acknowledge God in all your ways. How have you been able to hold on to that as you've gone into the music business?
Well, I tell you what, it is not always easy.
Hmm.
Hence all my head scratching. Lord have mercy. Because most music, most people want to get into music for what they see it to be. Money and like recognition and stuff like that. Yeah, I've seen some man like the reasons people want to do it. Like people just don't want to be hurt anymore, so they want to get to a place where they're untouchable. But
Right.
so they try to get there by like means of not really caring, just focused on the money. So doing the things that make the most money and the things that do that are not the best to be consumed. Just like junk food, it like tastes really good and it's really easy to, really easy accessible, but like it ain't the soul food. You see what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's a little harder. It's a little harder. Oh my gosh, people. Oh my gosh, that has been so uncomfortable for me. People being
Hmm.
like, "We need to collab. We got it." And then I like, and I'm like human, and I want to do stuff with them. And then I like see, and it's just they going off. They going off on the other side. They going off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's so hard because people take it personal. I'm like, oh Lord. So there's a lot of instances where I've had to deal with things like that, and am happy about going. I'm happy about going through it. I caught myself saying that because I'm I'm really excited about like mentoring other musicians and artists that
Hmm.
like you know because the genuine you, like you giving yourself the more of you can scrape off the source, like the more connecting it will be. Like just it's crazy. It's crazy how penetrating it is when it's genuine. And
Yes.
that's got to come from you being unadulteratedly you, just like purely you. And that can't be motivated by like money or nothing like that. It's just you being you in a form that's consumable for other people.
Right. Well, what's so cool about that is that you already have what it takes some people into their 40s and 50s to understand. So, just stick to the standard. Having a standard of any kind, it can be tough. I mean, across the board, whether it's in the boardroom or in a recording studio. And so the fact that you got that is pretty cool because, again, people feel pressure from other people. That peer pressure is not just for young kids in school. I'm talking about, seasoned adults still feel that pressure to kind of move away from who they think that they're called to be to kind of get along. So I think that's pretty awesome that you are deciding to kind of stay the course. You figured it out, dude.
I wish I had it all figured. I'm just I can't accept the compliment. Thank you. No, thank you so much. It's hard. It's hard.
It is
And I'm
hard. It's
hard on
going to continue
myself.
to be hard. It's going to continue to be hard. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard. If it were easy, everybody would have a standard, right? But it's that thing about you that says, you know what, I just can't compromise. That's what makes it hard, actually. And then we don't like disappointing people. We don't want people
Yeah,
to think
oh
that.
my.
Hmm.
people pleasing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If there's one thing to get delivered from, Lord, it is people.
That's just your humanity showing. I mean, it's a real thing. And again, knowing what the issue is half the battle, dude. It really, really is. So again, don't be so hard on yourself. You're gonna be all right. Just don't compromise. You'll be all right. And when you feel yourself sort of getting weak, you just call Auntie Pamela and say, listen, I need somebody to kind of keep me focused here. And then I'm just gonna say, well, now you know what you gotta do.
All
Right?
right now. All right.
Well, listen, I am going to, like I said, sharing some of your music. I just want to let you know, again, no matter how this turns out, and you should probably within, the next couple of weeks be getting the kit. I want you to let me know, and we're going to do an update and a follow-up interview. Maybe we'll do a reveal interview, and maybe both of us may end up smiling, or both of us may end up crying on.
Oh, rolling on the floor. I tell you, I'm gonna be like Maury. I tell you, I'm 200% sure.
I know, right? I'm going to be disappointed too if it doesn't work out that way. But like I said, honestly, family are the people who are blessed enough to come into your life, and those are the people who hang on and stay with you. So we're already there, so that's okay. But I just want to thank you so much for just taking time. Is there anything else you want to share before we go? Anything else at all that you want to share about yourself, about your music, about your journey?
Man, God's been good to me. Like, just period. Yeah,
That's awesome.
like through. Yeah, just period. It's really that's really it. That's really it.
That's so awesome. And again, as I've said to you, I know, like you were saying, you're not necessarily a family oriented person, but I'm going to have to just give your parents a shout out because they have raised you well, young man. So they have done well by you. And like I said, I just pray that everything will be restored and it's going to be so awesome. And some things you're going to understand once you have kids of your own and you're going to see what a pain you probably were down through the years
Oh yeah.
and how much they love you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you're pretty awesome. I just love talking to you.
Thanks. Next time, I'm gonna burden you with all my girl problems.
Well, just do that. Do that. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. Well, listen, you take
Okay.
care. Oh, yeah. That's what family does. You take care of yourself. And I just want to thank you. And again, you're my first guest to do the live streaming. And I promise you the next time that we get together, I'll have it down. But again, I just look forward to meeting you and we'll do an update.
Thank you. Fantastic.
All right. And where are you playing anywhere anytime soon over the holiday?
This is the first time I'm actually gonna have a gig on Christmas and Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow. Where are you going to be playing?
I'm gonna be playing at the Mansion from 5 to 9 Christmas Eve and Christmas.
Oh, that is fantastic.
And let's see. Oh Lord, I'm gonna be playing this week coming up Friday at the DeSoto, 6:30 to 9, and then Saturday at Ghost Coast Distillery from I think 4 to 6.
Okay. You sound like your calendar's full, dude.
No, but I'm blessed. It's like just enough. Like I'm blessed. I can't complain.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm super proud of you. Well, let me just thank everybody for tuning in to the Big Family Search. We're going to definitely be doing more of this. And again, if you want to know more about the Big Family Search, where I'm finding my family that was separated by slavery in the antebellum South, please find me at www.bigfamilysearch.com or on SoundCloud. You can hear the podcast. Which again is Big Family Search. And again, thank you all so much for being with us. And we're going to end the broadcast at this time. And we're going to be back with you with more of the Big Family Search. Bye, Jacob.
See you.